Hello and welcome to yet another episode of the Car Biz Chronicles. Matter of fact, this is episode 4, means we're halfway through the season, and thank you guys so much for your engagement up until this point. Now, this episode, this was special. We were in Las Vegas and had the opportunity to sit down with Ilana Shabtay of AutoLeadstar. We had Allister Jones and Doug Sprinthall from the Walzer Group up in Minneapolis. And these guys, do they know their stuff? I mean, there was a huge amount of value to be had from the discussion because you have Doug, who's been doing this, as he said, since the turn of time. You have me in there doing it 20 years. Ilana, relatively new, but on the vendor side. And Allister, this guy's just a thinker, okay? His accent definitely brings you in, okay, with that English accent. But at the end of the day, I'll tell you this. The brilliance that came out of that conversation was all about being nimble. It's not about being stuck in your ways. Okay? And that's what I want you guys to take away from this. This was a large group who was able to make changes almost immediately as they tested things in their own areas. The takeaways are endless. So as I always say, make sure you have your notepad. If you were smart, you'd put this up on a big screen and you'd watch it with your team, because this episode is much different than the other ones, because we have not only 2 dealers and a vendor and myself, but we've got all 4 of us sitting there in one place. The amount of information that comes out of it is awesome. So please enjoy this episode, and as always, let us know what you think. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Car Biz Chronicles. Yes, we are in Las Vegas here at the Bellagio. You guys have seen us down here a lot. This is an exciting event. We've got not only a great dealer with us, but also a wonderful vendor that was so gracious to kind of put this all together. So I'll start with, to my left, we have Ilana Shabtay. Is that right?
That is right.
I got it right.
Shabtay.
Wonderful. And you are with?
AutoLeadstar.
AutoLeadstar. And what's the job there?
I am Director of Business Development at AutoLeadstar.
Okay.
We're basically putting out a full stack marketing solution for the automotive industry, specifically to help consolidate, which we're going to talk a lot about today. We have offices in both Jerusalem and in Miami. I'm right now in our Miami office for 2 years.
Okay.
And we're growing very, very quickly, which is very exciting.
That's awesome.
And we get the pleasure and honor of working with Walzer Automotive.
Tell us who you brought with you.
I brought the director of marketing, chief of marketing at Walzer Automotive, Allister Jones.
Allister, thank you for joining us. Allister, how long have you been in the car business?
Great, thanks for having us. I've actually been in retail for about 20 years, but I've only been in auto for about 6 or 8 months.
Really?
So I'm happy to bring a lot of the traditional or contemporary retail experience to automotive.
That's
After
awesome.
all, that's what customers want. They don't want a different way to buy a car than they do everything else. So we're here to change the auto business.
That's what you're doing. Awesome. And to our right, we also have Doug. It's Sprinthall.
Sprinthall.
Doug.
If you need another one, it's one of my relatives.
Well, I was going to say, you've got to be very short on that.
That's right.
Doug, you've been doing this, you said...
Since the earth cooled.
Since the earth cooled. All right. Which has been a long time. For those who don't know, that's a long time.
Many millennia. No, I got in the car business in the early 80s. I've held all kinds of positions in retail. When we consolidated, I was a director. I do traditional media for Walzer Automotive.
So you're the guy buying ads for radio, TV?
No, actually just doing the actual work, not buying the stuff.
Oh, really?
So, yeah.
Nice.
It is kind of
And
fun.
are you also participating on the creative side, like being a part of
Sure,
all of that?
yeah.
Nice. That's awesome. Well, we really appreciate you guys joining us. And so to kind of kick it off, I know we want to talk about the idea of consolidation, not only at a marketing level, but if it comes up at the dealership level, because you guys are kind of the leaders in the clubhouse, as I understand it, talking with the folks that I've been talking with about getting the consolidation done. Ilana, in your position, what does consolidation mean on the digital marketing side?
Great question. So similarly to what Allister brought up before, people want to shop the way that they shop in retail, the way that they shop on other sites, the way that they listen to music, the way that they watch TV. And I think automotive is a bit behind there.
Okay.
So what I think consolidation means on the shopping level when it comes to actual digital marketing is really making sure that the engagement is streamlined, that you don't have 5, 6, 7 vendors on a site not communicating with each other, popping out at the shopper, actually disrupting the shopping experience and not consolidating it into one really nice experience, right? So I come on a site and I click on something and I'm looking at a VDP and I'm looking at a specific vehicle. I want to take that experience to the end, all the way until I actually walk into the store and buy the car,
Sure.
or not walk into the store.
Right. Yeah. Not walking in the store. Do it from your couch or whatever the case
Yes.
is. So in the consolidation, Allister, for a dealership side, when you look at marketing, where's the advantage for you from the dealer side to have those sort of services consolidated?
So we're really focused on that customer experience. So coming from different retail, we run some research and we understand the customer doesn't want to shop for a car any differently than how they buy a shirt at J. Crew or a wrench at Home Depot or an iPod from Best Buy. They want a very similar experience. They don't want to learn how to buy a car. They're getting programmed exactly how they want to buy anything through a digital experience. So we're really focused on that customer experience, that digital customer experience, and providing them with tools that allows them to have a seamless, simple experience that isn't confused with multiple different pop-ups. It's very simple, it's very clean. So we're consolidating a lot of our call to actions, we're consolidating a lot of our inventory in single places to help the customer find what they want as quickly as they can, go through the customer journey of exploring and selecting and making their mind up. And I think the old way of allowing consumers to do that online was too complex. It was too time consuming. It was too frustrating. So we're really focused on consolidating all that into one very seamless, simple experience. And we're proud to be working with Ilana and her team at AutoLeadstar to kind of help us figure that out.
On the marketing side with that. So let me ask you though, do you view that as part of like the whole buzzword right now, right? Digital retail. It's all anyone wants to talk about, buying a car from your couch. Is that part of what you're talking about, or is that kind of phase 2 of what you're discussing when it comes to consolidation?
Yeah, it's more of the latter. It's more of the phase 2. But we're definitely on that path because we fully recognize there's going to be a small niche group of customers that will want to do it all the way through online, from exploring, selecting, purchasing, and obviously they need to go maybe to a dealer, but the role there quickly changes from a showroom and a place of business to literally a local delivery center.
Right. Place to shake hands, show a car.
That's exactly right. So we're strong believers that people want to do most of that sitting in their boxer shorts on their couch, and they want to do it at their own pace as well. So they don't want to do it on a Saturday visit into a dealership. They might want to take a few evenings and start to learn and inform themselves and get better educated by using digital tools, but they want to do it on their own schedule.
Right.
And that's what we want to provide. We want to provide that option of being able to do that.
Yeah, because I think I heard the number they're hoping to really drive digital retail to about 20% by 2020 is what they saw. I think that is, like you said, it's niche. I got to ask you, Doug, you've been doing this a long time. Mm-hmm. What do you think about us getting to this place of delivering cars to couches?
I was actually a big proponent of that 7 or 8 years ago when our previous team worked with dealer.com to do the first online reservation system, because I thought, well, let's just copy what Amazon does. I mean, we don't have to be creative. Let's just steal something that worked in 1998.
Sure.
There's a couple of roadblocks, though, that have made me rethink that whole thing a little bit. And one of them is, and this is a new car thing, the selection process is very complicated.
Specific on a new car.
Yeah.
Right?
So if you're shopping all these crossover SUVs and you land on Toyotas and it's okay, what's Safety Sense 1 and what's 2? You go to a typical dealer's website and they just show you every piece of inventory they have, and there's no way to navigate that. That's something that dealers do really well on show floors, but they don't do very well online. The other problem is the OEMs. When they go,
the OEMs are a problem?
Well, no,
is that right? That's accurate to me. I say it all the time.
I will say that multi dealer groups will rank them from Toyota's usually a pretty good part.
Yeah, best to worst. Yeah.
However, they all, in an effort to protect their brands, they've adopted this MAP pricing strategy, minimum advertised price, even though most transactions are under MAP prices.
Correct.
So I think that the two things that consumers want from a dealer is, do you have it? We can do that. You can look at all 4,000 of our cars.
Correct.
And how much is it? Well, you might need a form fill, which is where companies like AutoLeadstar come.
Right, you might need a form fill, you might need a phone call.
It's like you're kind of wading through all these cobwebs to get the one piece of information that I personally think should be really transparent and would lubricate the whole e-commerce.
Making it quicker to do that. I would agree with that. And I think you and I have worked on side projects trying to get other companies in our space to understand the one container, because I call it corner real estate, right, on a website. there's only 4 corners.
Mhm.
We only put widgets in one of them.
It's the competitive
Right?
right,
Okay.
corner
And you
space.
guys are just, everyone's like, well, if I don't have this space, then I don't want to be on here. But from a
Yeah.
consumer standpoint, I got that pop up. Then I got chat. Then all of a sudden, a coupon comes over top and bangs me
There
in the
you go.
face.
You look
Right?
at Amazon, they've got a lot of pop-ups.
No,
No.
there's not.
Weird.
Right?
No.
It's very
But a
odd.
lot of the right messaging,
Right.
right? A lot of the right messaging.
At the right time.
Yeah.
Right? Already knew kind of my user experience, and then all of a sudden, when I needed chat, it happened to be there, right? I couldn't get a button to click, and all of a sudden, when I third click, the chat box pops up. And the dude goes, I see you're having a problem with this. I go, uh-oh. I mean, I'm kind of weirded out at first, like, how does he know that?
It's true.
And then, you know,
He's listening to
Yeah.
his own-
he's just sitting
Yeah.
there
I
above
see
my
you.
house, just
Right.
outside the window. But yeah, but they were proactive, right? That we are too reactive in our industry. I don't think we get out ahead of things quick enough. And that's why I love a fresh perspective of retail.
Right.
That's really cool. What roadblock have you run into early on in trying to understand the business and bring it full circle to something that you'll say to, well, in retail we do this, and inevitably you'll hear a car guy go, this is the car business, it's
Right.
different than that. And
Right.
you go, it's consumer experience, what's
Right.
different? What's been a hurdle for you just getting into the business in the first 10 months?
Yeah, explaining or trying to refer to the car business as different is a little bit, in my perspective, short-sighted. We're quickly putting ourselves in the customer's shoes and trying to deliver and develop customer experiences that are quite natural. But so right now, when we actually look at from a website perspective, it all starts there. 85% of people are starting their journeys with the digital exploration. When you actually look at the websites, they're just not working hard enough for the customer. There's a lot of deep clicks to find very simple information. It's got to be fast. Everything's just got to be 1 click or 2 clicks away. It's got to be intuitive for the customer. They don't want to work too hard, and they shouldn't.
No.
They shouldn't have to, because we're training them in this industry to jump through hoops, and some of them are 10 foot high and on fire.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whereas if they wanted to buy any other product, and if we don't get it right, there's a big group up in Seattle that are doing pretty well with online retailing that will kind of come in and sweep up this industry, like they have many other industries, and the reasons why you don't see people like Circuit City and Toys R Us. The competition in those single.
Is this Starbucks?
No.
No. He said
Okay.
he said Seattle.
also was
I
like,
thought, man, that coffee company is
Yeah.
aggressive.
It's like,
I didn't
wow.
know that.
That's
Yeah.
Costco.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
called Costco.
Or Microsoft.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Amazon are going to do it. They're not going to sit back and just actually wait for customers to put their hand up and say, this is a shitty experience, please can I have a new one?
Right.
Now, we've put a lot of research together. We're doing a really interesting research project right now for us to fully understand what the customer wants. NADA have been great at providing data. We've got Mintel shopping reports. We've got OEM data from the likes of Mazda and Chevy. But nobody's really kind of looking at this Midwest. For us, 25 stores all in the Midwest. We're looking at the Midwest customer and trying to find out what they want from an auto buying experience. And we're going to evolve our proposition to kind of match that. And we're getting some really interesting insights that it isn't far away from buying an iPod at Best Buy or a wrench at Home Depot. So therefore, we've got to pivot. We've got to move towards where the customer is expecting experience before somebody else comes in and does that for us.
I having done this 20 years and was dealing with internet leads through a fax machine when I was first getting them in '98. Okay. Auto right? And I'm gonna go downstairs today at Digital Dealer. I'm gonna go catch up with friends that have been there from those day one. But the reality is, we started to get customers to they didn't want to show up to dealerships, so now they could submit leads, right? They thought they were comfortable and safe to submit leads. But then they submit leads, and we called them 47 times, we emailed them 60, and they were just like, this is too overwhelming. Now I don't even want to submit a lead.
You're right.
Right? But then you got the guy who submits a lead, and then we say, well, sir, we understand you want to email us, but just call us.
Right.
If he wanted to call you, he would have already called you, right? He's not comfortable with that.
Yeah.
He wants to communicate via email. So I've always said, use the mode of communication your customer prefers.
Right.
And now you have text. I mean, you guys text, right? At the dealership level, you guys are texting incoming leads. They're getting more contacts than anything we've ever tried before. And that's a success for me, but I think that's part of the consolidation, the number of contacts, communications. Right. But for you guys in marketing, what is the ultimate, when you say, is it the ultimate goal for you guys to have all of the products or to be able to integrate with vendors they use? Because like I said, you and I have talked about that.
Yeah,
What's the goal of Container as AutoLeadstar season?
I think collaboration is the way that we're actually going to be able to succeed in this. We're obviously not going to be able to be the one engagement strategy for every single dealership, and we also don't necessarily have all the engagement under Falcon right now, which is our conversion tool. So it's really, really important to have a platform that welcomes other kinds of interactions, almost even as simple as through an API, which is just something that is so incredibly foreign to this industry.
Sure.
Where
we use it for API for reporting, like out of GA, right? People do API feeds that way, and those feeds break all the time because no one looks at them. So then you get
That's
like all
something else I would love to talk about.
You get all these emails with all this data, and it's like NA 1400, and you're just like, I don't know what to make of this, right?
Yes.
Like, what am I supposed to do? That's why we prefer humans, right? So all of our data teams dig in by hand to GA, to go in the dealerships that we work with, to look at all of their data, because I don't want a broken feed that I'm going to try and make a decision on a month from now. In your world, what's the difficulty of API with you guys? People not understanding it from the vendor side?
Here, there aren't a lot of open APIs, and I'm not a technical person, so I cannot speak to this on a high level. But I mean, I can only speak to this on a high level.
But if we had the boss here,
but yes, if
he could tell us.
Yes, especially if our chief of product, who's actually at the booth right now, who I wish he was here to talk about this, but there's
should have told me. I would have subbed you out.
I know. We should have. But outside of automotive, most CRMs, email marketing platforms, websites have a way to hook in data from other sources, right? So if I click on an ad and I then come to a site, and then maybe I go to another site that potentially communicates with my site, like just for example, Cars.com, AutoTrader, Car Gurus in our sense, right? I'm going back to automotive for a second here. But if you can actually link up your shopping experience with what's called an API, it's just a way for different
data sharing
shares to communicate, you can have a much, much better system, a much better user experience, because your every touch point is communicating with each other. So if we had, a chat or a trade-in platform that was communicating with Falcon or communicating to the website, which was communicating to Falcon, we would then be able to collaborate as if you're on a showroom, right? As if we're two salespeople talking to someone and having an actual conversation.
And I think that's what you and I have talked about. The reason that everyone should work together in industry is because without you guys, I don't exist, she doesn't exist, there's an entire conference downstairs that doesn't exist. Right. So the fact that you have vendors who you pay, who aren't willing to work with one another, offends me as a 20-year guy in this business, because I find that absurd. Right. If she asks you to integrate into her tool and you say no, I'm probably likely to find someone who will.
Yeah.
And that's the key thing.
Is that how you feel about that?
Yeah, that's exactly it. So we're finding partners that can actually do that. Okay. If they cannot collaborate, they're very short tenured at our organization. We're finding partners who are bringing new propositions and new ideas to the table, but their approach is fresh. Their approach isn't grounded or anchored in years of legacy in the auto business, and they're finding just different ways which are far more aligned to a traditional consumer experience.
It is the last dynasty legacy business I think that exists in the United States. I mean, I think that if you look at it, generational people being past dealerships, you just don't see it anymore. Brick and mortar stores don't work that way. Right. It's just not a thing, right? But with retail, it is. When you talk about consolidation, do you guys go all the way down the road of one website vendor, one chat vendor for all locations? Like, is that how far you take it? Or do you have to be kind of OEM specific because some of them don't allow for it?
We're looking for as much consistency as we possibly can. It is influenced by the OEM arrangements. But on a whole, if you look at our business probably in 6 months' time, we will have 20 out of the 25 stores all on one platform, web platform, and the other 5 won't be on that web platform because of OEM restrictions.
Got it.
Which also provides us with a little bit of a challenge, because we're trying to deliver a very consistent experience. So we've got people on our team that are relatively awesome and smart in this, and they're figuring out how do you actually make one of the other platforms look like our preferred platform. And we're finding consistency on the front end, not necessarily on the
I was gonna say, if I'm guessing kind of where and what manufacturer you're referring to and what website you're referring to, it's one of the more difficult back ends to deal with. It's fine on the front end, what it looks like, but as far as what you're trying to get done, or God forbid what you're trying to get done, those aren't necessarily parts and pieces of that puzzle. Doug, when you look at this on a traditional side, does Does consolidation play into how you approach things? Are you
I think
approaching
it
the same way?
definitely does. So my belief as a part of a dealer group is I'm pretty agnostic about the brands. I want to sell the dealer brand proposition, and if they want to buy a Porsche or a Mazda, it doesn't really matter. So it's really part of what I do is telling the story to people that aren't necessarily in the car market. We know that at any given time, only 3 to 5% of the population is searching for.
And we're going to spend like $100 billion acquiring
$100
3%. It's a wild number.
Hurry up before we run out.
Yeah,
you know,
because we're having a sale.
Camry.
Yeah, we're having a sale. You can't believe this, but we're going to have a sale all weekend.
Right.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So part of what I do is try to speak to those people about what our company represents, in really kind of a because there's branding, there's marketing, and there's advertising, and a lot of what exists in the digital space really is advertising.
Sure.
It's not really marketing.
Sure.
So
And there's plenty
I
of
think you need a
wasted
balanced
dollars
approach.
there. I think it's funny how we always describe when digital started out, right, like mid-2000s. People would say, oh, well, if you get into digital, you'll stop wasting money because it's trackable.
Right.
You can't track traditional.
That's right.
Well, now here we are 10 years later, and the biggest thieves in our industry are digital marketers.
Mhm.
I hope you
Oh,
take any
no,
offense. You know me better. You know well enough.
100%
That's not what I
Other
meant.
ones with offices
I
in
agree.
Jerusalem.
Yeah, they don't.
Yeah.
And the Jerusalem thing, you always know when she's over there because you get an email at like 1 in the morning. You're like, what's this girl doing awake?
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's really, to me, I look at the industry and I say to myself, I'm not a car shopper. All right, I've been doing this 20 years. I don't buy a car like you buy a car. I walk into my buddy's dealership.
You don't.
Yup. Invoice. Yup. Have a nice day. Bring the paperwork home to my
Yeah.
wife.
You're a sales
Right.
guy. You're a laydown.
But Doug,
That's awesome.
you're absolutely right. But are you a car consumer? Do you really
Yeah.
know what what a consumer goes through after 30 years?
I actually, because I get a lot of relatives and friends
Yeah.
over the years, they ask me advice, and it's like, okay, no, what do they really want? And it's not for me because I'm like you. It's like, always want that.
Yeah, that's it. I want that. I'm going to take it. Right?
It's
Yeah.
a Corvette that just snowed.
Yeah.
Great idea.
But it's a great value.
So it's
Great
like,
value
okay,
for
so, and back to what I was talking about earlier, the whole selection process. I mean, it seems like it should be so elementary, but it is really complicated.
It
And
is.
That's how we take, and very good car salespeople have that knowledge, but it's hard to translate it through the internet currently.
It is, and I think that's another thing that comes up when you look at digital retail stacks. Like they're trying to get this whole experience. They kind of miss a little bit on the chat side. I think that's the chat and text really has to be viable right away. And I think at a dealership level, you've got to have the concierge. You've got to have the person whose phone is dedicated to whatever's about to happen.
Yeah.
There's a manufacturer that over the last 5 years try to install their own whatever drive type system on your website,
Right.
and it had
Colonel Motors?
look,
Sorry.
and my business partner went out the first time, and it had a non-secure page.
I know.
And he's crazy, right? So the second that came up, his screen turns red. Don't click here. Don't give anyone your information. And we thought, holy cow, this is a billion-dollar organization. Has no idea how to secure a page.
You can
How
imagine
can I trust
our
people to get
surprise
through it?
when we realized that they were trying to sell their auction vehicles through our dealerships on their websites. There was one guy that bought it. I think she was the mom of the guy that invented the program.
Sure.
But for $2 million, they sold one car, I think.
Okay,
It's just crazy.
crazy, right? I was slightly public at the time and going through stores about it. That guy whose mom bought it, he called me on a Friday and cussed me out.
No kidding.
We are a company of 3 people, dude. We were around for 2 years. This guy called me on a Friday, 5 o'clock. That's Tito's hour. I'm already
right.
started. He started cussing me out. So I said, where do you get off talking to me like this? You'll never be certified by our company. You'll never have a chance to be turnkey. I don't give a fuck. And by the way, if you ever call me again, I'm going to call my lawyer. All of a sudden the phone dies. He hung up on me. He called me and he hung up on me. So what do? I'm a car salesman. Redial the number. I'm sorry, did you drop the call, man? What happened? Don't ever call this number again. That was interesting, right? So everyone gets offended when their baby gets called ugly. It's just part of life.
Well,
Not everything's perfect.
Every OEM has a different approach. I will tell you that GM has done some wonderful things over the years, and then sometimes it's like they don't think. Toyota, on the other hand, I've worked with Toyota for 20 years, and I don't ever remember pulling my hair out over something they did.
See, but they're very cool. They don't have real stringent. They allow you guys to pick multiple vendors
That's
for
right.
websites, multiple chat vendors. They don't isolate you to one decision. Where in life do you have one decision?
That's right. And that whole,
Anywhere? When you go somewhere, you have one thing to look at?
The whole partner phrase is way overused, but Toyota does comparatively feel like more than, and they're not the only ones.
But do they work with you on the consolidation side? Do they see what you guys are trying to get done and say to you, hey, we want to be here for you? They say, look, you're just our wholesale partner. Let's just move on with our lives.
Actually, it's interesting if you look at the whole Lexus Plus experiment,
Sure.
which has grown out of one price. A lot of the people that were our employees and sales trainers are working on writing the Lexus Plus manual. So there's a wing of Toyota that's pretty progressive and thinking, okay, this is really the way it should be. I don't know if they all think that way, but it's interesting.
Are you guys a one price group?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You are.
We've been one price since 2001.
Yeah, 18 years.
Oh, one.
Yeah.
So it's you guys, and who's the other one? A big one up there.
There's more one price dealers in the Twin Cities per capita than anywhere else
That's
in the
what I
country. The Apple Group, the biggest Ford store in the state, Maury's Automotive. They stole our sales trainer and ripped off the whole model, which is great. It means you're onto something, right?
Well, that's what I mean, right? Anytime someone
Nobody
steals your
steals
business
bad
model,
ideas.
right? Exactly. No,
So-
look, we kind of created a space of what we refer to as vendor management 5 years ago,
Yeah.
and now, as of the last show, I mean, we've came people walk by a booth, they stole everything right off our website. I mean, our verbiage, everything, and I thought, we made it. Look at this. Like, this was cool. A couple of guys in the laptop.
We were understandably a little miffed at first, but then when you
Sure.
think about it, what's happened in the Twin Cities is that the buying public has got really educated about one price. That's a hard journey when you're the first one that starts
Heck
it,
yeah.
because you're fighting all the time.
It's education.
Right.
Education is the most expensive part of whatever you're talking about, from an advertising, whatever.
right.
It's education.
So two things happened. Other dealer groups copied our model, and really V-Auto gets credit for that, because every V-Auto dealer, they're really one price dealers. It's like they're kind of pregnant, they just haven't told dad yet, because they transact with a very narrow range off what their offering price is.
Well, what the number
So
is.
As time goes on, I think people are getting, the quicker we can take negotiating out of it and get more into customer experience digitally, I think is the faster that we
Right.
win.
And you guys stick by it, right?
Right.
You don't, customer says, look, another $250, I'm buying the car. You go, have a nice day.
And that's a little bit of the difference that, to Doug's point, we might have been the first, but there's a lot of parity in the market right now. But there's also a little bit of a gap between what they say and what they do. So they won't let a customer walk, or a lot of our competitors don't let the customer walk. It's like if they want to negotiate over $250 on the trade, or
They'll do it.
percentage point on the basis point on the interest rate, they will do it. Whereas we're quite stringent. We put our best foot forward. We put our upfront price there in front of the customers. When they come, they know exactly what they're going to be expected to pay.
Now, I've worked with other one price stores, and we're a little bit off of the consolidation, but not
Well,
really,
not
because
really,
it's really
but
a
it
process part of it, right?
It is,
But
yeah.
with the one price, that shifts how you pay your salespeople.
Well,
Right?
it's shifted a lot, hasn't it?
Right.
Doug can talk to that, but we talked at the beginning of this podcast about what we're actually consolidating internally, and we're consolidating finance, for example.
Right.
Because we're one price, we're also one person. So we don't have an F&I manager inside our stores either. So the person that you actually start working with
No way.
on your first entry into the store is the person that will actually hold your hand through the entire process, including trade, including F&I, because we need to, again, it's another point of differentiation. And if we're going to allow everybody to find parity on one price, our value proposition just needs to mean a little bit more to customers. And it was interesting, not jumping around, but it was interesting. We were talking about OEMs. We're interested in what OEMs do. They're a very valuable partner. But the most important thing for us is we start actually getting our brand right. We start thinking about our proposition and why people should buy from Walser.
Right.
And that's and that's why we are one price. That's why we are one person. But that one person is a prime example of how we've consolidated. And Doug, you were through that entire.
That one
process.
person is really next level, though. I mean, you've got to have someone who.
Well, you know what though? It's actually old school, because
Well, yeah,
this is
I mean,
an
go back there,
automotive
yeah.
history lesson.
Here we go.
I'll try to make it really
It's
quick.
like
Yeah, that's all right. Yeah.
So in the
Vintage,
old
vintage
days,
style,
before the
I
early
suppose.
70s, and I was a kid then, but it's like if you get a really old customer and they say, how much is it if I pay cash?
Yeah.
It's because in the old days, before they invented F&I offices, the salesman, because no woman would ever sell cars in the 50s and 60s, had to go to the bank and arrange. It was a total pain in the ass. That's why they'd give bigger discounts. And it was a dealer's kid who said, hey Dad, what if I set up an office over there in the corner and just did the loan stuff for him? It was Pat Ryan, and so Ryan was the first finance deal. And we've taken it really full circle. We, with technology and the ability, we have a funding center that handles all the technical aspects of leases and finance deals, allowing the salesperson to stay with the customer the whole time. All the paperwork's transmitted electronically. It's like this. So
that is awesome.
and now this isn't these guys and gals are exceptions, but the top salespeople in our company sell about 500 cars a year, and do all the F&I and upgrade CSI. We have bad salespeople too. They exist everywhere.
Sure, no, you can't
The
avoid
sales
it, right?
prevention team. If you have enough people, some of them are going to be majoring in
Yeah.
that.
But from that's consolidation at the biggest level, because the financial savings of a dealership operator who no longer has to have 14 desk guys, 3 appraisers, 16 finance guys.
Right.
Wow. I mean, what from an expense structure as a guy who
That's
used
right.
to be a part owner in a dealership, I think to myself, boy,
But-
that would be nice to look at the bottom line and not see a
It's
bunch of
right.
6-figure
So it's a
guys
win-win.
tearing me down.
Well, and you're at the mercy if they get pissed at you and leave. It's like, who's going to the box Saturday? We
Right.
got 40 waiters.
I am, right? I mean, that's
But
the
to
thing.
Allister's point, the other part of it is really the customer experience.
Yeah.
We tried it the kind of normal way with finance managers, and our Toyota stores are flagship. We sell 6,000 to 7,000 new and used cars a year, and we'd have 7 finance managers, and then Saturday afternoon people are still waiting 4 hours. Nobody wants to do that. It's
No.
just, and it's a problem that a dealer really can't solve in a high volume store. If you're selling luxury, if you're in a Bentley dealership, well, you sell 6 a month. Okay.
Well, it was just a friend of mine who bought a Tesla off the 3 Series ones that came out. And it's, Tesla's the #1 selling car in America. People waiting 4 years to fulfill an order. You got them all at one time. Let's slow down on the #1 selling of anything.
Right.
Got there at 6 o'clock, left at 12:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
Well,
6.5 hours to acquire a Tesla that he waited 4 years for.
Let's layer on a little bit, because I think what Doug's touching on is something that we're really proud of. So for the one price, one person model to work, we've had to make some significant investments internally on technology, and then also partner with the likes of AutoLeadstar to help us kind of advance our technology in a way that we're making smart decisions. So our guys and girls inside the stores, they are running off a piece of finance technology that we've created called Fuse. Now, I forgot what our record is, but this is an average transaction of 12 to 15 minutes. So it's all done side by side on a touch screen, where it's all a bunch of toggles and levers, and it allows the customer to literally build the deal or to do the desking side by side.
It's digital
With the
retail
sales.
inside the store.
It is, and that's where we're looking for technology partners to kind of help, because back to your earlier point, we've got a challenge, and I'm coming into this business new, and one of the big challenges is our websites and how do we actually build the digital experience, which we're evolving. Then the second one is, how do we take online to offline? How do we build that seamless bridge of moving the customer through the journey from everything they want to do in their boxer shorts on the couch? And for some, it's just like, oh, I like the red one, I'll go and see it in the store tomorrow. Others is, I'm going to go all the way through the process, pick it, reserve the stock with a $500 deposit, and I'll literally go in tomorrow and get it and pick it up. But for that customer, whether they're doing a little bit themselves or doing it all themselves or wanting to do it all themselves, we have to build the technology or the digital journey that takes them from online to offline in a seamless way, that when you walk into our store, we know exactly who
What
you
happened.
are and where you are in this process, so we can just.
So are you looking for technology partners who already exist in digital retail, or is Walser trying to develop their own digital retail end-to-end platform?
We're working through that right now. We don't have a clear answer. We've got a tremendous amount of assets ourselves, but back to my earlier point, we're trying to find partners that understand contemporary retail, that won't bring up great solutions, but we don't work with anybody else. So there's a barrier of how this actually can help us fulfill our journey for our customers. So we can do a lot of it ourselves, but we're really focused on doing it quickly. So we're looking at ready-made solutions. We're looking at people that can partner with the likes of Ilana and her team.
It just makes sense, right? Because you don't have to spend as much time or resource trying to develop a tool that someone's probably already gotten
Right.
most of the way down the funnel, that
Right.
if you jump in at the end, you say, look, what we'd like is a tweak here and a tweak there, and you're set for our group.
Right.
You said it earlier, why someone wouldn't want to play together?
Right.
for the access and right to earn business on 20 plus stores in 2 states is beyond me. Like it must frustrate you to no end when people are just like, absolutely not. I have no interest in trying to integrate this. Like, because that's what you guys want to get done. You guys are out here trying to help dealerships do more with it,
Well,
right?
I think we can name the elephant in the room. There's a very large force in our business that's trying to be the solution to everything, and that's, it's Cox.
Sure.
And why? And honestly, if I was Cox Automotive, I'd try to do the same thing. I've made this multi-billion-dollar investment in all these great companies.
Sure.
I want to block everybody out, and it's just kind of the reality of
It is,
where we are.
but the struggle is that you guys pay all the R&D. Every time
here's
every time they acquire a store or a new business, and they incorporate it like garbage because they do every time. You guys got to pay the bill.
Well,
Your
here's-
customer service drops, bill don't change. Service drops.
Here's the real
bill change.
struggle. Basically, that industry is built on all of our data, all of our information, all of our inventory. We have everything, and we just give it to them for free and then buy it back. It's brilliant.
It's not brilliant.
Insane, by the way.
It's
It is.
mind-boggling from where I sit.
But
insane.
really, it illustrates how complex the business really is.
It does. It does say how many people are in it, how much technology is in it, but the idea that companies that big have any real clue what goes on with these new tools that they buy is absurd. I mean, we watched it. We had a 3-store group down in North Carolina sign up last time they were at one of these shows for everything. I'm talking CRM. They went to the Cox booth. They got sold from CRM all the way down to Auto Trader Digital Retail Dealer.com sites for all their stores.
Wow.
$1 million a year these independent stores are spending. Couldn't get a call back. Websites were down for days. CRM doesn't work. And no one seems to care.
Right.
And I'm offended. So I take my phone and I start screaming at people. Doesn't get me very far, but at least everyone's trying to move in the right direction. So when you have technology, Allister, that you guys deal with, because I wanted to go back to this, you were talking about the data that you're getting. And you're getting data specific to the Midwest. That is what you said, right?
Yep.
Was that your idea to go specific? Because we hear so much about, well, if you just get the national average, you'll be at Midwest has seasonality that most others don't deal with.
It's a great point, Sean, because you can take the NADA data and it's great data, or you take any national body that's actually got data. The likelihood is their audience is California, Texas, Florida, Northeast. We're a flyover country, so we're trying to build the next generation operating model for our company. We can't do it with data that relates to customers that aren't in our market. So, you've probably heard the numbers as well. That 5 years ago, customer would visit on average 7 dealerships before they would actually buy a car. Depending on 2 data sources right now, it's either between 1.2 and 1.6.
It's not 2.
No.
That's the point, right?
But the challenge then is, if you think it's 1.2, you think literally every customer that's going to come through that door is now a buyer.
Correct.
And that's not the case. We know that anecdotally, and we can watch this happen inside our stores. So we decided we'll actually go and bust some myths.
Okay.
We will be the myth busters.
I love it.
And we decided to undertake it's about a 10-12 week project that's running through 3 phases of research to understand what a Midwest car buyer wants from their automotive retail partner. And we're finding some incredible data that will allow us to just evolve our proposition to really help us deliver that customer experience they're actually looking for, rather than the one that everybody believes they're looking for.
Yeah, I got to tell you, that's what I think most of these guys are out selling, is what the belief of the technology is, right? And now, last year there were 3 digital retail companies downstairs. Now there are 40. And everyone wants to add in. Everyone wants to be the next ad for you guys. How do you go out and in this process, let's just take digital retail. Do you guys have a pretty strict number of things that you look for in your vetting process? Do you sit through demos? Like, how are you going about finding? Because that's one of the struggles, right? That's why we created our company, was to help dealers understand the vendor base. How do you guys go about shopping and trying to understand that tech? Well, what's the checklist?
There really isn't a checklist.
Okay.
Yeah, I think there's 3 inputs.
Okay.
Part of it is fact based. So we love meeting with people. We love kicking the tires. Another part of it is gut feel, and the other part is experience. And when I say experience, it doesn't have to be purely auto experience. There's a wonderful blend happening right now in certain businesses that is pulling in auto experience. Doug and I work together. We work together every day, every week. But I've been in the business 5 minutes. Doug's been in it little bit longer.
Right.
Very diplomatic.
And that's
And for those that are confused, boxer shorts are not boxing, that's underwear.
yeah.
English people's how they say it. I'm sorry. Go
No,
ahead.
that's fine. It's clearly been bugging you
Yeah.
for the last
yeah,
20
yeah. Then that segment got you. Now you want to bring it up. I like it. Yep, always wants to be there for it. Yeah.
Hangover.
But having that blend of experience is really, really important. And just getting back to Ilana, just pulling Ilana back into the conversation. You've been in the auto business for what, just over 2 years?
Yeah, not long at all.
So the perspective that they've actually brought is one grounded in a great customer experience, or what a customer is actually looking for from tools and solutions, and that's a great fit for us because there is little legacy in terms of how they actually think about
Sure.
the customer.
Mm-hmm.
They're not stuck in something they've been doing for years. That's not their thing.
And we've got people that have got all that experience, but we've also created an environment at Walser that's highly innovative. Andrew and Paul Walser have run this company for the last 25, 30 years, have created an environment that's just, we're interested in new ideas, big ideas, as long as they're actually going to deliver value to all the key stakeholders, including the customer,
Right.
our employees, and the people that run our organization. So we work in a really awesome environment where we can go and test things. We can challenge the status quo. And by partnering up with Ilana and Aaron, for example, at AutoLeadstar, they're bringing a kind of a fresh perspective to
Because
the
I think they
industry.
do the same thing that you just said, right? I don't think they're
Right.
stuck in anything. So every time they see something, I'm just kind of speaking for you
No,
as
that's
I
okay.
partnered with you,
Yeah.
is I see you guys kind of say, well, we had this, we were cool with that, but we thought if we could do this, then we could add to the experience. And I'm someone who says, be good at what you do and then be great at what you do, then worry about adding on. But I think you guys are way more mobile than that. And I know that you talked a lot before, and we got a little bit off of it, in data consolidation. And I know that's a hot button for you. You want everything kind of in one place and dashboard, I'm assuming, driven. But what does data consolidation look like as you see it?
So I think when you're thinking about the customer experience and when you're thinking about bringing offline experiences, really understanding your online experiences to the offline experiences, you really need to understand what's happening. And in order to consolidate data, you have to understand what's happening at every single point, right? So it's not just, we spoke about this earlier with streamlining the experience for the customer, but then on the dealership side, what are they getting from that streamlined experience? What can they see? What can they actually understand from their data to make data-driven decisions that are based off of what they're looking at, right? What they're investing in, what the customers are clicking on,
And not just the website, right? You're talking about website
website.
GA. You're talking about what I refer to as the big three: AutoTraderCars.com, Car Gurus. You're talking about a
Exactly.
place to see this entire story, number of chats, number of opportunities, where just bam, bam. Is that
That is
accurate?
exactly what I'm saying. Also, when someone comes into the store, so that when they get that experience, right? Someone walks into a dealership, and you want to know everything about that person. That includes, emails that they looked at, ads that they had seen, third-party sites like AutoTraderCars.com, Car Gurus, things that they've looked at, how they got to your site, right? It's really important to understand that. If you don't have that connected into your digital experience and into where you're seeing all of your data, how are you going to know if that's working for you? How are you going to know how they're coming to your site?
And I think the most difficult thing, again, in that idea of consolidation is the idea of working together, right? You've got to have AutoTrader, Cars.com, Car Gurus, all willing to participate. Why they aren't is beyond me.
Well,
Without
we
it-
do have we have participation
At some level.
at some level for sure. Yeah.
And then that's what you guys are trying to do at your level is say, hey, you need to work with this tech partner, this OEM, and you need to make
Right.
the story better
Yes.
for us.
Right, exactly, and it's that it's the partners that actually bring a differentiated thinking. So we've had conversations with people like Salesforce, not to change out our CRM, but we love their marketing cloud and how it actually works in consumer electronics retail. It's like, well, how do we take parts of that and then plug in various groups that can all think differently? It doesn't need to be, back to Doug's point, a Cox product, or it doesn't need to be a Reynolds and Reynolds product because they've been doing it for 30 years.
Right.
Maybe that's the wrong thing to look at, because if you've been doing it for 30 years and we still, in the eyes of the consumer, have a very different experience compared to what their contemporaries are providing from a retail point of view, then maybe they haven't got the answer. Maybe they're so stuck in yesteryear that it's not going to help today's customer have a true online to offline auto buying experience. And that's all we're actually after at the end of the day. We're going to be the customer advocate, we're going to be the customer champion, we're going to provide them with an experience that actually works for them. And if it means kind of blowing out of our business some of the more traditional legacy partners, then that's what we're going to do, unless they can adapt. And we're great partners. We think we're great partners.
I've heard nothing but great things about you. So I'm going to go on the fence here and say that you're great partners.
Yeah. So we'll bring people
Since
along.
Well, look, you made it in this room, so you had to be great at something. Because I did say the top line dealer, so right, yeah, no.
So sure,
That's
we
awesome.
want to bring those people along, but
Yeah.
if we find that they actually can't meet us where we actually want to be, then there are other people who may be outside the industry that can help us.
Well, I would love to hear about that data when you put it all together. You put that whole story together. I wonder if you bust the myth of 1.2. I wonder if you start seeing 2.5 and 3. I can guarantee you're going to bust it. It's the better.
The one I was at a Google deal with
Oh, boy.
Black Book
Oh, boy.
3 years ago.
Oh, boy.
And they started spitting out. You go to the campus and the old Google thing. It looks like a 70s apartment.
I know, it does.
Weird.
It does.
It's
It
like,
does.
this
Yeah.
is Google.
Yeah.
Anyway, so some brilliant young woman got up and started spouting off the figure that everybody says, 1.6 visits. Hang on a second. Let's break this down. So, out of every 16 people that come into a dealership, 10 of them buy cars, which translates into a 66% closing ratio. You ran a dealership.
Yes.
How close to 66% did you ever get?
I would still be there. I don't know. I mean, if I was 40% of the way there, 50% of the way there, I'd still
If
be.
you hit
That's the reality.
35, you were buying the manager's drinks, right?
Agreed.
Right.
Agreed.
Nobody.
Yes.
The only
Nobody
people
closed at
that
60%, and nobody logs 100% of ups anyways to even know if I got 60%.
The first
That's
week
all
that
relevant.
Fiat 500 was sold in the country, they closed at 60% because people didn't figure out they were crap, right? Then after that, they went down. So it's no way.
It's
3
just
to
a
4.
math equation and data that fits the
That's
narrative that someone's trying to sell.
And we're terrible at that as an industry in hearing something and then repeating it.
Oh my God.
It's true because all these other people said it.
You're going to go downstairs and sit in 2 breakout sessions. You're going to hear things you've been
I know.
hearing for 3 years,
I
just
know.
regurgitated and repackaged.
And
It's crazy.
we will get to digital retail. To your point earlier, it'll be a percentage, and I think that the correct strategy is to offer customers a bunch of different ways to interact with dealers. I'm fascinated by Caravana. I got to know Ernie Jr. right when they started 6 years ago. I thought it was really cool. I think they're making the opposite mistake dealers are making, is they're forcing everybody into a digital path when, I like the one.
Well, and they just don't
have
what it takes to survive on the other side of it, which is fixed ops. You don't have a building.
Yeah, I know.
We sell a
It's
car to service a car. That's why
it's
we
a
sell a
challenge.
car. You know what I mean?
They've done a brilliant job.
It
branding,
is.
though,
I wish
from
they
zero.
didn't find it necessary to come after the traditional car dealer in the ads.
Right.
That's a whole other discussion. I just find that to be.
Because drive time is kind of like the
It
poster
is.
child for traditional dealerships.
This is kind of what I'm saying. So here you are getting your deals funded on your secondary FI company, but you're trying to say you don't want to be the traditional
That's
dealership.
right.
That's hilarious to me. It's almost a lie, but that's fine. I really don't care. What I do care about
It'd
is
be like Donald Trump Jr. being a socialist.
now see.
Now we're getting political.
Right,
We
Doug,
can't
we
get
can't
political on the
do
podcast.
it.
I'm sorry.
No
I don't know what
politics.
you guys talk about in the Twin Cities in your
Sorry.
podcast, but I can't do that here. I'm just kidding. I really don't care. It doesn't matter to me. We were just commenting on how hideous that building is here in town, so it's fine. And so, all right, well, look, we've had a lot of fun. If you guys could believe this, we're already up on our time. But I want to ask you guys, to kind of close this out, what I like to do at the end is, and I catch you guys by surprise on purpose, so I'm sorry about that, is I want you to think about, while I give my takeaway, think about a takeaway that whatever we've talked about, whoever's watching, and we hope it's a ton of dealers and vendors, frankly, we hope that people hear one thing. For me, it's work together. I can't stress it enough. Without Walzer, without car dealerships, none of this exists. Period. So if it's in the best interest of the dealer, it should be in the best interest of every vendor that dealer works with. That's how I feel. Ilana, what takeaway do you have that people must come with?
Well, I feel like that should be my takeaway.
It could be. You could double up.
The takeaway, I keep on thinking about what Doug said about how Cox, they take away their data and then you buy it back. And for some reason, all I can think about is own your data, understand your data. It's going to contribute to any kind of consolidation that you'll have on the dealership level and on the marketing level. So just beware of how powerful data can be.
And that's
own it.
And as you said before, it's not just data on the marketing side.
No.
It's data on the number of ups, the number of follow-ups, the number of all of that data is available through CRMs, you name it. These guys have data.
Yeah.
One thing we are not short on is data. And
Right.
I think my business partner always says to me, in America, we are awesome at aggregating data. We are pathetic at figuring out what to do
Yeah,
next.
I mean,
Right?
it's very difficult.
We have data farms, we just don't have farmers to do anything with
Right.
it, right? Yeah, so that's
Yeah.
how it goes.
Take the-
Allister, from where you sit, what is the one thing dealers have to know and take away from today's discussion?
You've got to be prepared to modernize, and that isn't purely just the digital journey. This is about understanding your data, building the digital experience, figuring out online to offline, and then even understanding what the new offline or in-store experience actually needs to look like. That needs to be modernized because that has to change to match the customer. And then once you've got, like CRM, when you've got data and you've got we've got a tremendous amount of customer data, but we need to modernize our approach of how do we actually use that data. So modernize your thinking, modernize the experience online to offline. Just kind of find a contemporary solution that actually meets the customer where they are. So we're modernizing our thinking based on purely rooted on what the customer actually wants out of this experience.
And does that also apply to actually how you train and bring up your sales staff?
Of course. 'Cause
That's what you mean as well, right?
That will modernize our operating model, and our operating model will be grounded then in new training. It'll be new recruiting. So it goes down to that granular.
Less turnover, more people
Yeah,
staying in their
exactly.
jobs, all of
Because
this.
at the end of the day, this is retail.
Correct.
And as we know, retail is detail. And if we're not recruiting, going down, there's marketing guys should be talking about who are we recruiting. These people represent our brand
Yeah.
and represent what's different about our business. So we need to modernize everything. Some of it by a lot, some of it just by a little, but it all needs to move together into the future to make sure the customer is getting exactly what they want.
Excellent. Great point. And Doug, close us out, bring us to the end.
I think we're all in violent agreement,
Yeah.
quite honestly. I think it's simultaneously simple and really difficult. You have to be able to step back, scrape all the car stuff out of your mind, and try to creatively figure out what do customers want. And a lot of it is from data examination, and doing customer surveys are really important. We don't need customer surveys to know that customers don't want to be tricked.
Mm-hmm.
And that's still a big part of our business. It's
To your
like
point earlier, we don't need
marketing
customer
is-
surveys that tell us they don't want to sit there for 4 hours.
Right.
We don't need that.
We don't need that,
Right.
yes. The one person that does say they want to be there, you're never going to get them approved anyway. But
Right.
it's,
That's
it's,
why they want to negotiate.
but there's still a big part of our industry
Yeah.
that's the whole creativity part is let's find cool ways to trick people. Cut it out.
Just cut it out. Be transparent, right?
That's
Just
right.
knock it off. And you guys are the most transparent you can be.
Yeah.
You got one price.
Right.
It's not like you have a button on your website that says click for our e-price.
Right.
Doesn't say that.
And we don't get them all, but we sold 35,000 cars last year. It kind of works.
It's kind of okay to do that, and it was easier for everyone from salespeople to customer to be a part of those 35,000 transactions.
It's weird because a lot of them keep coming back.
It's crazy, right? and we find out that that's actually where we want to get the majority of our business.
Right,
Is
right.
in repeat referral, and that's not different than anywhere else. I sold men's suits for the longest time before I got in the car business. I had my own database, my own client base came to see me just to buy suits. You can do it with cars, you can do it with service, we can do all these things. So thank you all for joining us. This was super cool. Thank you for setting this up. You did
Thank
an
you.
awesome job. Well, I told you I was looking for great people. You brought me great people,
Awesome.
and that I appreciate.
Of course,
You guys
we're
are
happy to
awesome.
be here.
Thank you guys so much for
Thank
being
you.
involved. Guys, as
Thanks
always,
for
we hope
having
you
us.
enjoyed the show, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks.